Okay, welcome back to another Design League playthrough and nearing the end of them. We've got, I think, 3 more as things stand. And this one looks stunning. Like, love the plot that you've done. This one's from bobbyj, who's another designer I know absolutely nothing about, which is one of the most exciting things about doing this. So many names that I'm now going to follow much more closely because of having played one course for this. Looks like we're in Boreal, I think. But bringing water in, which is a really cool trick. I remember Reeb doing this with old Tom's Ferry way back when, and that really influenced me, and then I nicked it and did the same sort of idea on Marlette. And like, there's some stunning looks here. Really cool, like, use of textures, rock work, etc. Lots I like. So yeah, we can dig into this one and see how we go. Looking forward to it. Starting with, oh, got OB. I'm gonna guess that this. Why are we doing... Oh, I presume to stop you having a drop on that side of the water in case... Huh. Yeah, I guess it can be weird like that. That's fine. Starting with the short par 3 is an interesting choice. These bunkers, they're dug into a hill in such a way that it's going to be really difficult for you to sculpt them. And then you've made it tough with the most convoluted, tiny shapes, which you've done a pretty damn good job with, to be honest. I think you can probably scale these up, like one bunker, I think, rather than the two, with this many sort of Mackenzie style fingers in this space would help you out so much, where you're basically doubling the space between each like little projection. Would make your life a lot easier. Great green site, really like the planting. I would like this little boreal grass. You've got here the kind of yellowy sort of one. If that were just a feature grass and just like partly in here or partly down here, rather than going all the way along, I think it would look a little bit better. Your brights, like the ones that grasses that really draw the eye, try to just use them as like highlights rather than having them absolutely everywhere. And I'd say having like your default, these grasses that you've used as like your base, just make those ones be the little dull ones and go from there. I like the green as well. It's small. It like you're pushing whether you can just about get 4 pins on here. I think you can, but it's like close. That's about the swing I wanted. That's not too bad. I like the water backdrop. Yeah, again, just looking back at that bunker, I think this first one could definitely use being a bit bigger. If you look at some of Matt F's bunkers in particular, he's great at this. It always surprised me when I was first starting out. Every time I'd go and look at one of those, just seeing actually they're a lot bigger than you think they are, which allows you more room for the sculpting. I like the detail work with the little bridge, 2 little bridges. Planting looks great. The rocks, I think, work pretty well. It's a really cool environment. And from the very first flyover, I've been really enjoying this environment. Okay, more of the bunkers, and we're running into some sculpting issues here. And that's not surprising. So you can see that they're going quite flat at the top. And that's not really surprising because of, honestly, how many you're putting in. And little bunker strings where you're trying to get each one to show, they are really tough. You have to do some really tricky sculpting to get the down and back up and right without them folding in on each other. And I think you've put these just too close to each other. There's no way you're... So honestly feel this hole's just over bunkered a bit as well. Like, you can have the same effect with fewer bunkers, especially because I can only see, like, unfortunately 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, 5 of them off the tee, and there's actually double that number. So I think cutting a few of those would help. Bird is a great touch, really like that. Visually this hole is stunning. Love the open water in front of it. Bridge out to the left. Like, there's so much good going for this. And the lion's mouth with the principal's nose making me kind of choose a side or lay up. Like, strategy I'm really enjoying here. Long par 4, which means I can't really lay up, but I want to be tending down the right hand side for this pin. That's okay. Yeah, I think this bunker's pretty good, this one a little less so. Just your bunker sculpting is a touch hit or miss. Same with the green. I feel like this course is doing so much well in terms of understated environment and it's not trying to grab you. I'm not sold that the bunkering style really fits that, or at least this is very in-your-face bunkering and it's just such a good environment. I'd really rather it were just a bit more understated, personally. Although that's a choice rather than that's not a mistake. That's a personal preference, I think, of like what I'd see fitting. It might actually be not so much the style. Didn't expect that to go. Might not even be the style. It's more just the placement of those ones around the green, like that sort of. How do you call it? Playing into a cavernous. Yeah, same thing with these bunkers. Like a really good thing that I remember once reading was a good test of a hole design is whether you can take a bunker away and have the whole, like, take bunkers away until it plays worse. Like, how many of these are just framing? I think you could join a couple. Like, by all means keep the same amount of space, but like one of the things I quite like doing is leaving one side of the fairway without bunkers, one side with bunkers. I think you've probably got them here so that people don't go too close to the rocks, which actually I really like how you've done this. Multi-planted grasses, I think you'll actually see more success if you scale those grasses up and single plant them, because then they'll render better from distance and then you won't just see them all popping in. Like you see how they suddenly populate when we get close enough. Great look off the tee though. Like I think you could get away with just keeping that bunker, that one, and one by the green, and your sightline would look better because it would just have more space. It's just a little crowded at the moment. But I love the look. I love how you're bringing the water in. Like, I think atmosphere and that was an awful shot. Like atmosphere environment, this is my favourite in the contest, and I don't even think it's that close. And there's been some I really liked. There's so much good about this course. Tricky green as well, so it asks you to play more out towards the corner. I think that's the other thing as well with the bunkering. When you start putting bunkers absolutely everywhere, it kind of dilutes to the player on the tee. Well, where should I be playing it? Because you want to ask people to challenge bunkers, and if you have a million of them, well, which one's the one that really matters? I guess that kind of goes back to my question on can you keep removing bunkers until the whole plays noticeably worse? Okay, moving away from the sun now. Okay, I'm going to stop talking about the bunkers now. It's kind of the same comment. I think that's going to be one that goes on every hole now. That said, I like the way you've kind of had a string here lead into one that is actually miles up the hole, but it looks like it's just a string of sand. So if you were trying to carry this, you have a bit of an optical illusion there, which I think can be really cool when pulled off well, which this one is. Oh, that was me. Huh. First bunker we found that's on a different hole. I bet we did not see that one coming. That was kind of just a hack back in play. Yeah, sculpting when we're looking up close. Let's just skip to a chip so that we'll be able to see it. You can see we've got some mounds in the bunkers. I think with this many, your sculpting is going to get a little trickier. This one could use a flatten in the middle. It might just be also you've got enough funky shapes that you've kind of missed the centre of it. It's hard to know. Green complex is really good. Punch bowl with that little tier and that little tier are great. The way that you could put this slope, red slope here is a bit severe. I'd lower some of this down. Just it looks very harsh at the top, particularly this part. I think that's steeper than you'd normally flatten that out. Yeah, I really like this green because you've given us clearly different pin positions, but also a green that's receptive to certain like that. So we know we can just play it into an area, which I think is my favourite kind of golf, where you're just relying on slopes to do the work for you. But also, there are some areas on this green that are going to require a much more precise shot. So I would not play the same shot. I'd be clubbing down at least one to try to get to this one and hedging over this side a bit more. But you could equally play over this side and flop back against the slope and hopefully roll down. Just really good green complex here. And most importantly, it completely fits the type of shot that you're asking people to hit in. So you'll see quite a number of eagles to that pin, I would have thought. Bunkering's more restrained here and it works much better. Good stuff. And I can see why, because the green is really dialed up. Undulations as well, which I don't feel like, yeah. There's some here, but this one's pretty flat, and then this one's suddenly like, this is the hole where we're doing undulations. I'd rather see that. Yeah. I think I like the undulations, but I'd rather see that be a bit more consistent. But it's another really good look off the tee. I love that you haven't over-treed or over-planted this, even though there's a ton of grass. I think it looks really good. It's not a good tee shot. Get lucky. Oh, and it does. I'm just wondering, did we have light rough on other holes? I think I might be thinking of the previous hole. That makes sense, because the fairways are generous. Fun green contours. Just trying to... yeah. I think where you've cut the green kind of works. I question why we're adding the extra section of green when it's unpinnable. Probably just like that slope will still function. Just cut your green here and it makes a lot more sense as a shape, but it's a minor nitpick. Oh, come on, wind. Yeah, that's not what we wanted. Great look over the little lake as well. Not my best part. Nor was that, but that one got a lot more lucky. I think the routing's been good as well. Like, you've had some, in a short area, there's been a lot of different directions, interesting choices of where you put holes, great drivable par 4 to finish. And look at the little clubhouse, like, this is class. Perils of the low lighting and overcast is sometimes it'll get a little dark, but you get the golden moments when the sun comes back out. Had to give it a go, didn't we? Oh, this is not going to be pretty, is it? It's a really good finishing hole and I've just absolutely put myself in jail. So this isn't going to be pretty. Tell you what, this is a class finishing green site. Just so good. Oh, go on. Oh, wouldn't have been deserved. Let's just look back at the overhead. Yeah, enough options as to how we'd want to play it. You do want to be hedging your bets to the left-hand side. You do not need to make your water out of bounds. I think that's what you've been doing. It's unnecessary, and honestly, just do it for the cliff side if you want people to avoid getting stuck on a cliff. Right, don't worry. Look, so much of that to enjoy. Really, really cool course. Really good ideas. I think your bunkering was probably the area I'd focus on. Fewer of them, make them bigger, sculpt them a little bit with a bit more, not more care, but it'll allow you to take more time to give them the TLC they need. And because they were so cramped, it's crowding your visuals a little bit in a way that environment did not need. Like, the environment was so good it could have carried pretty much like basic default holes, and those were much better than that. But cluttering them a bit with bunkers actually just detracts occasionally, and because you're putting them in too small a space, it makes it tough to. So yeah, anyway, really enjoyed that, as you'd have heard, and look, best luck with the contest, and really look forward to seeing where you go from here. That's a class entry. Good luck.